Hello, class. Today we will be covering the last section for the Unit 1 test. Section 2.3 deals with other graphs in displaying quantitative data. So one of the graphs we're going to take a look at here is a stem and leaf plot. Okay. In a stem and leaf plot, the stem is going to be on the left. Okay. So your stems are going to be on the left side. Your leaves are going to be on the right side. So therefore, it's the stem and leaf. So stems left, leaves right. Now, the single rightmost digit is going to be the leaf, okay? So when you look at this data right here, this would represent 14 for the stem and 8 for the leaf. The other one would be 273 for the stem and 9 for the leaf. So we would have 14.8, and this one would be 2,739. So the single rightmost digit is going to be the leaf. Now, when you look at this data, you're looking at scores on a final exam. So this is quantitative data that numbers make sense. So you could say that someone made twice as high on a test grade than you. You can do math with test grades and determine who scored the highest. So quantitative data would be used to display math scores. So therefore, you can put those in a stem and leaf plot. So looking at this data, there are different types of stem and leaf. So you can look right here. Here is the traditional. The traditional is where you're going to have all leaves for a particular stem are listed on one line. So when you notice here, you would start with your lowest score, which is going to be the 58. So you would start with your lowest score, which is a 58. Your highest score is a 97. So when you look at that, the leaves are going to be the rightmost digit there. So that's going to range at 8 right here. So you see that's the 8, and then it ends right there at the 7. Okay. On the left side will be your stems. So with your stems, you don't want to skip anything. Okay. So when you start at 5, it has to be consecutive all the way to 9. So even if you don't have any data, so you have to go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it has to be consecutive. Okay. So then you start listing. So all leaves are listed on one line beside the stem. So if you notice, you only have one of the 50s, so it would be 58. When you go to your 60s, you would have a 66 and a 68. And then you would go to your 70s and you would list all of the 70s. So anytime something repeats, you do repeat it. So you have two 70s, two 71s, 72, two 73s, a 75, a 76, two 78s, and a 79. And it's going to continue all the way from 5 to 9. Okay. So make sure they're in order, again, from least to greatest. Now that's called your traditional stem and leaf. That's how you see them most of the time. But sometimes you also have what's called a split. Okay, with a split, you are going to have two stems. So when you do your stem and leaf and you're going from 5 to 9, you're going to list 5 twice. You're then going to list 6 twice, 7 twice, 8 twice, and 9 twice. Okay. With your split, 0 through 4 is listed in the first row. So notice there is not a 50, 51, 52, 53, 54. The 8, when you go to the second row, those are going to be the numbers 5 through 9. So 58 is on the second row because it is between 5 and 9. So think about that as rounding up. So anything that is 5 or more will be on the second line. Anything that is 0 to 4 will be on the first line. Okay, so notice there's no 60, so you skip it, but you still have to list it. Then there's a 66 and 68. Since that number is 5 or more, it goes on the second line. Now going to your 70s, you have 2 zeros. That goes on the first line because anything 0 to 4. You have 2 71s, first line, 72, 2 73s. Now, once you get to 75, the 5 goes on the second line, along with the 6, the 2 8s, and the 9. And then you continue. So first line is 0 through 4. So notice with your first line, everything is 0 to 4. With your leaf, that would be your first line. And anything that is 5 or more would go on your second line. So 5 or more is going to be bumped up, okay? So the first thing you want to do when you're given this data is to find your lowest score and your highest score, okay? So take a moment and find your lowest and your highest. So it looks like we have an 8.1 with Alaska. And the highest, it looks like, is Florida with 17.8. If it says construct a stem and leaf, you're usually going to go with the traditional model. If it says a split, that's when you're going to split them and do 2 of each stem. Okay. So when we think about our stem and leaf and we have our lowest number of 8.1, we're going to start that stem at 8. And we're going to go 9, 10, 11. So we're going to keep doing these stems, 12, dot, 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 all the way till we get to 17. So it has to be in order, nothing skipped. So you start at 8. That's where you're going to start. And you're going to end at 17. Okay. So when you draw this right here, all stems are included from the smallest data value to the largest. Then you're going to list the leaves, which is your rightmost digit for each stem. They have to be in ascending order, which means we're going from lowest to highest. Now, the best way to do this is to mark these off as you have completed it. And I'm also going to show you how you can sort this information into your calculator. Okay. So when you look at this, we have an 8.1. where I said we were starting, and we're ending at 17.8. Now, do not put zeros unless there is a zero there. So if it is a 9.0, then you're going to put the zero. So if you notice here, we have to put the zeros in this information because we're missing that placeholder. So if you know, when you're looking at this, you're looking at the percentage of the population that's 65 and over for each state. So when you're looking at that with your decimals, remember there is a zero following the decimal point. So if you don't see a decimal digit here, it's understood to be a zero. So we're putting our stems and our leaves, and we're going from largest to smallest. Sometimes you will see a key listed for the stem and leaf. If you do, it doesn't matter what number they start with, but it would be written like 8/1. I'll just put the first number, would represent 8.1. So sometimes you'll see a key that will tell you how to read it, that graph as well. So remember, in certain situations when you have decimals, especially when values have more than one place after the decimal, a stem and leaf gives much more of a clear information if the values are rounded before placing them in a stem and leaf plot. So when you look at your homework, you might see some examples of that. Sometimes it might tell you about rounding some things. If not, use the decimal that's given. Okay, as we are looking at the other type of stem and leaf plot that's called back-to-back, I'm going to show you how you can use your calculator to help you sort your data. So first off, you're going to hit stat. So stat is located right here. And you do want to practice this. So refer back to the online link for the TI-84 Plus online, because the more you practice with the calculator, the better you will get. So I'm going to hit stat and enter. Okay, so I'm going to cut it on, stat, enter. So I'm going to edit a list. So if you have data in your list, you want to go to the up arrow. You want to mash clear and enter. Okay, I'm going to type in the course averages for English, and I'm just going to go across. So 45, enter. 57, 62, 66, 68. So I'm just typing these in across. If you want to pause the video and type yours in, please do so. Okay, now once they are typed in, if you go above, the last score I typed in was a 91. This tells me I've typed in 16 data values. So this would be 16 scores. Now I'm going to hit second quit to get out of the screen. Now I'm back to the main screen. Okay, so after that, I'm going to hit stat again. And if you notice, it has a sort A, which is number 2. I hit enter. It's asking you, what do you want it to sort? I want it to sort list 1. So in order to call up list 1, if you look right here, L1 above number 1 is list 1. In order to get that called up, I have to use the blue key, which is the second button. So I'm going to hit second, number 1. And I'm going to close the parenthesis. When I hit enter and it says done, then my calculator has sorted my data. Now, what does that mean? That means that it put it from least to greatest, where it's going to be easier for me to work with. So I'm going to hit stat and I'm going to hit edit again. And you can see that it has taken these scores and went from smallest to largest. This is very helpful when you have a lot of data values. In our class, we tend to use the calculator instead of Excel. So if you see where it says copy the data into Excel, you don't have to worry about that. Just focus on the calculator way, okay? And the reason high school focuses on that is because you still have a chance to take your ACT. And so therefore you will be able to use this calculator to help you if you see questions of this nature. So I'm going to go ahead and put the steps here that we wrote down. So I wrote these steps down for you. You want to hit stat, enter, get your data entered in L1. After that, you go back to your main screen and hit stat, number 2, where it says sort A, and you want to do second one where it will sort L1 for you. Okay, pause that if you need to keep copy. Okay, so with your stems, if this is a back-to-back, okay, a back-to-back means the stems are going to be back-to-back. Okay, so make sure you understand this one's back-to-back. We have the traditional, we have the split, and then the back-to-back. Okay, so this back-to-back is going to allow us to compare each of these classes. One was the history class, one was the English class. Now, when I look at the English class, our lowest score was a 45. When I look at the history class, the lowest score is a 59. Okay, and you can see right here that these are already from least to greatest if you go across. I just wanted to show you how to type these in case they're not. So with this information, we're going to start with the STEM at 4. Okay, when you go to your highest score, the highest score is going to go up to a 91. The highest score in this one is going to go up to 100. So what this means is, since we're sharing the stems, we have to start the stem at 4 and we have to continue and go all the way to 10. So we're starting at the low and going all the way to the high. Okay, so the stems are going to go in the middle. So that's where I have here 4 through 10. Now, you read the stem and leaf from the middle. So when you look at your English class and you were to look at that next score, you see here it's a 57. So I would put a 7 here. My next score in English was 62, 66, 68, and 69. So I would list 2, 6, 8, and 9. And then I would continue that pattern with my 70s. I would go to the 80s and the 90s, and 91 was the highest for that. I still list this stem, but it has no leaf with it. You want to label this graph as well because it shows that you are comparing the English class to the history class. Okay. Now, to read with the history class, you can see that there were no 40s on that score. So I'll leave that blank. This one was a 59. Then we had a 61 and a 67. Then we have a 71, 71, 73, 80, 82, and so forth. And then with the 10 is where you put the 0 for the 100. Now, when you list these, if you notice my arrows, you are reading from the stem out. So you're reading from the stem out to the right. So when you're looking at that, Please note that your lower values are going to be on the inside. So it's going to go from low to high. So low to high. So your higher numbers are going to be on the right side. So when you read that, it's 80, and then your 85 will be on that left side. Okay. Over here, that 85 will be on the right side. So you have to read it from inside out. Inside out. The higher numbers are going to be on the outside. So the higher numbers here are on the left. The higher numbers here are on the right. Okay. So make sure everything is in order and your stem is in the center. Now, when you get to this one, you're going to note that this stuff is not in order. That's why I was showing you how that you could type this in order to help you. Because when things are not in order, sometimes people have trouble marking those off. But if you do not have to use the calculator to order that. It just depends on how you prefer to do the question. Now with this one wants you to make a back-to-back, and it wants you also to do the double. So you can see right here, it wants you to split your stems. So you want to make sure that you have 2 of those when you're doing a split. So construct a back-to-back stem and leaf plot for the data. How do the ages of the Wimbledon champions differ from the ages of the Master champions? So when you're playing golf and you have the different winners with their ages. So with the Masters versus the Wimbledon. So try it yourself, okay? And I'm going to put the solution up here to see how you've done. But please try to see if you're good with typing it in the calculator or working at it by hand by marking these off, okay? So I'm going to kind of get you started, and then I'm going to let you try this problem, okay? So we first want to name a label each side. So this side I'm going to put Wimbledon, and this side I'm going to put Masters, okay? I'm going to look at the ages. So when I look at the ages of this, you can see that we have, for the lowest right here, looks like 17. And then for the Masters, looks like it might be 21. Okay, so that's going to tell me that I'm going to start my stem at once. And I'm going to have to double them, okay, because we're doing a double now. So we're doubling the ones, and then we're going to look for the highest number. So looking at your highest, looks like it might be in the 40s. Let's see. Here's a 46 for this one. Looking at the other one, not seeing any 40s. Might be 30s. So we got a 35, I believe. Okay. So when I'm looking at that, I'm going to start at ones because one's my smallest. I'm going to double it. And I'm going to go all the way to 4, and I'm going to double the 4. Okay. So let's try to kind of do one of these, and then I'd love for you to pause and try it on your own, because if you miss this on the computer, you know, it makes you keep going through. Okay, so with Wimbledon, if I started at 17, okay, that is going to be on the second row. We still need to list the first row. And then I think I have an 18. So I got to put the 7 and then the 8. Remember, you start from the small out. Okay. There wasn't any there, I believe, in the Masters. Okay. So let's look at 20s. I think we had a 21 right here for the Masters. So I'm going to put a 1. 23. I got a 23 here and another 23. And then you start getting up here to the 20s. Let's see if there's a 25. There's a 25. That goes on the next row. And then we would have some sixes on this row. 1, 2, 3, and then some sevens, and you would just keep going. Okay. On the other side, if you're looking at Wimbledon, we would go to 20. We have a 20. Let's see. Yep, a 20. We start inside, and then they would have 21, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you would just keep going. Okay. And now you can fill your answer in. If you missed anything, just kind of fix that. So if you notice, the Wimbledon champions are generally younger than the Masters champions. That would be something you could notice with that comparison. The hardest part is just trying to get the numbers and not overlook anything. Okay, so this one deals with the blood pressure, and you have the systolic blood pressure reading for 50 adults. So I'm going to go through one more time on how to type this into the calculator. So I'm going to hit Stat and Enter. To clear this, I'm going to go to the top, mash Clear, and Enter. Okay, then you're ready to type your data in. And remember, when you're finished, go back up and make sure you have 50 data values. Okay, the next button you're going to hit is Stat. You're going to scroll over to Calculate. Excuse me, I was calculating. We need to sort. So let's do second quit. Okay, second quit. That's my bad. Okay, with Stat, we're going to scroll down to sort. Okay, and then we're going to sort L1. So we do second 1 and then enter. So it tells me we're done. So my lowest number is 92 and my highest number is 174. So that's why it says construct a stem and leaf plot using 9 through 17. So I'm going to start with 9 and I'm going to just continue down through 17. Okay. So then I'm going to separate that and I'm going to go ahead and start getting my leaves. So with my calculator, since I have my data sorted, I'm going to go back to this list and I'm going to go to my 9s. So with my 9s, I have a 2. So I'm going to put a 2, a 2, a 4, a 8, and a 9. Okay. Then I go to my 10s. So I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So I'm going to put those down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And then I have a 7, 9, 9, 7, 9, 9. Okay. Now, if you'll check yours and go ahead and fill in your chart and come back and compare with mine. Pause the video, please. Okay, as you return, If I'm going too fast, just pause the video as you get your answers and check those. And I just used my calculator and wrote down the numbers as I saw them after it was sorted. And part B wants you to do split the stems. So that means that you're going to have 2 9s, and you're going to continue that all the way until 17. And you're going to have 2 of those. Okay. And then remember, when you do that, the numbers here, right there, those go on the first row. When you get to anything that is 5 or more, that goes on the second row. Okay. So anything 0 to 4, first row, 5 or more, second row. If nothing is there, okay, if nothing is there, so you can notice here that I have a 142. So 2 would go on the first row. I still put the 14, but I put nothing. Okay. I have a 156, so nothing goes on the first row there. And the 6 would go on the second row. Now, when the question says, which stem and leaf plot do you think is more appropriate for these data? The one in part A or in part B? Well, the split stem and leaf plot provides more detail for the data. It's more appropriate since we have stems with large number of leaves, like 11 and 12. So you can see how 11 and 12 had a lot of information. So if I split those, I can see that a little bit better on what was going on. And the last one is dealing with dot plots. Now, a dot plot is a graph that can be used to give a rough impression of the shape of a data set. It's useful when the data set is not too large and when some of the values are repeated. Consider the number of children had by each president of the United States and their wives. So when we have this information, again, we can organize it or we can mark it off, okay? So when I look at this dot plot right here, each data value is a dot on the number line. So if I have 0 children, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 had 0 children. Okay. Going to 1 child, we have 1, 2. So we have 2 dots, had 1 child. So what that means is 2 of the presidents of the United States had 2 children. 1 child, excuse me. 2 children looks like it's the majority. So when you look there, how many times that occurred with 2 children, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that would be 10 dots. Each dot represents 1. Okay, so each data value is a dot on the number line. And then it just continues. So notice 15, that's a lot of children, was your largest. Okay, only 1 president had 15 children. Now, what you need to try to answer with me is a dot plot gives a good indication of where the values are concentrated and where the gaps are. For example, it is immediately apparent that the most frequent number of children is. So you can see right here, that's the tallest. So that would be 2. And more than 6. So we would count for those that had more than 6 would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't forget to upload your notes and let me know if you have any questions.